This is an On Your Sideline special presentation. The Mountain West Football Preview, brought to you by Hines Built Homes and Larry H. Miller Chrysler Jeep Dodge.
Hello and welcome to the On Your Sidelines Mountain West Football Preview Special. I'm your host, Paul Gerke. Over the next half hour, I'm going to take you from the City of Trees to Sin City, from Nevada to New Mexico, from San Diego to San Jose. You'll hear from players and coaches as I take a close look at each program in the conference, key losses, new additions, and players to watch. Everything you need to know before the 2014 season kicks off later this month. What better place to begin than right here in Boise? The Broncos were picked to finish atop the Mountain Division in the conference media poll, but that will be easier said than done for new head coach Brian Harsin and his staff. Harsin inherits an 8-5 team that lost as much NFL caliber talent as any school in the league. Not to mention the departure of legendary head coach Chris Peterson, who finally jumped ship for the coast of Lake Washington. Harsin worked under Peterson for 10 years. He says he knows the expectations that come along with the job and how to handle them.
It's really about that day-to-day, and that's really what we focus on. And that's all that matters. It matters that we're doing things right on and off the field, and that we're taking care of business when we go out there and play on Saturdays for those 36 hours we get judged on.
The Broncos return just 5 starters on the offensive side of the ball. The O-line is unproven at best, but familiar faces will line up in key skill positions. Jay Ajayi will be the feature back. He averaged 5.7 yards per carry and scored 18 touchdowns in his sophomore campaign. Quarterback Grant Hedrick returns for his senior year with the starter's job locked down. One of the perks, the chance to throw to his roommate and favorite target, Matt Miller, who caught 88 passes and found the end zone a dozen times last year. Another solid season could cement Miller as the best receiver in school history.
You know, if those records fall, they fall. If they don't, they don't. I'm just excited to get out there and, go reach our goals of trying to win the Mountain West in the bowl game.
The nice thing about Matt's got some experience in the system that when I was here as a coordinator. And so he kind of knows the transition that we're going through.
Boise State's 2-deep rotation at defensive line is solid, boasting senior leadership in Tyler Horn and Bo Martin, while featuring young talent like Gabe Perez and Kamale Correa. The linebacking core is perhaps the deepest unit on the team, including 4 players who started at least 6 games last season. The defensive backs are also a veteran unit, led by Jeremy Iowani, Darian Thompson, Dante Dion, and Corey Bell, who will assume more pass coverage responsibility as the starter at nickel in Marcel Yates' scheme.
I just continued to work with the footwork part of it and just the man coverage side, the stuff I didn't really have to work on as much last year. So that's been my emphasis, my focus this year, and just getting in better shape and making sure I'm able to run all game and go. It's good having Coach Yates back. I think he's an intelligent guy and somebody that kind of breaks things down and makes them really simple for people trying to learn the defense, or even people that are experienced in the defense. He can kind of bring a new light to an old idea.
No matter what happens on defense, Boise State's fate will be intertwined with the success of Jay Ajayi. If he can somehow improve upon last year's performance, expect him to bolt for the NFL. If Jay falters, it'll probably be the result of ball security issues, which plagued him at times in 2013. Despite an acute case of fumbleitis, Ajayi appears to be the best back in the Mountain West, but his coach doesn't expect the national spotlight to hold Jay's attention.
Well, the expectations are for him to come in and be like everybody else in our team as far as being productive, playing, learning, providing the impact as one of our team leaders. There's a lot more expectations on him within our program than there are about, what he's going to do and where he's projected and all that. Take care of your business, all those things work out.
Don't worry, that's just an appetizer for you Boise State football fans. The main course arrives next Friday. Be sure to tune in right here on today's 6 at 7 o'clock. I'll be spending an entire half hour previewing this year's team. Boise State's toughest competition within the Mountain Division will come courtesy last year's winner, Utah State. The Aggies returned just 10 starters and graduated 22 seniors. Second-year head coach Matt Wells went 9-5 in his debut campaign with the program, losing just 1 conference game to the Broncos. Wells is looking forward to a shot at revenge in the regular season finale.
The championship's not won in July, and it's done by what you do each and every week through the grind of the season. I hope that last Saturday, when we come to play on the blue in Boise, I hope it's for all the marbles for the Mountain Division.
The most impressive part about the Aggies' success in 2013 was that starting quarterback Chucky Keaton only played in 6 games before tearing his ACL and MCL against BYU. Utah State's ceiling this year will be defined by the health of the Heisman watch lister. Wells says there's no such thing as hyperbole when describing Keaton.
The one thing that they didn't do is they didn't hurt his mind and they didn't hurt his arm. And those are two valuable weapons that that young man has. His mind and how smart he is, yet coupled with how confident he is, expands what you can do as a coordinator and as a play caller.
Keaton's favorite targets, junior wideouts JoJo Natson and Brandon Swindle, will also both return, as will Chucky's primary protector, left tackle Kevin Wimpy. Running back Joe Hill, who also suffered a knee injury last year, will be counted upon to replace the departed Joey DiMartino, who was honorable mention All-Mountain West in his senior season. But all eyes will be on Keaton, who threw 18 touchdowns and just 2 interceptions before he got hurt. He says his knee is 100% now, and so is his mustache.
My dad has a mustache, and he had it for a while when I played baseball, but whenever he shaved it, it was like, well, I knew it was him, but it just looked awkward, so I got to just groom. I'm working on the Cleveland Brown from Family Guy mustache.
The Aggies defense was top 15 in the country last year and could be even better in 2014. 4 all-league players return, including star linebackers Kyler Fackrell and Zach Vigil. According to Matt Wells, Utah State's biggest strength is in its front 7, especially that linebacking core.
They care about this program and this logo way more than they care about themselves. They're all very selfless players, and they're talented too.
We don't sit there and pat each other on the back. We know we got a lot of things we can each work on, and so that's what I think drives us. We just keep working.
Coming up on the other side of the break, could Colorado State climb to the top of the Mountain Division this season? Plus, why Wyoming's MVP isn't wearing a jersey. Stick around. The On Your Sidelines Mountain West Football Preview Special will be back in 2 minutes.
We're nowhere close to where Boise is, and yet it's something that, back a long time ago when Sonny Lubick had this thing rolling, Colorado State was that type of team, and that's what we're striving to become.
Colorado State head coach Jim McElwain has a healthy respect for Boise State and all the Broncos have accomplished, but that doesn't mean he and his Rams are just going to lie down on the blue and get run over. Boise State's first conference opponent is a program on the rise. The Rams won 6 of their last 8 games last year, including a thrilling bowl victory over Washington State. McElwain, who just signed a contract extension through 2018, loves where his team is headed.
We're making huge strides. I think what happened, just making a bowl game and then the extra practices and all the things that go along with that, and then how we won the bowl game is one of those deals where, our guys, I think it's exciting to have some expectations. I'm glad somebody knows who we are.
The Rams returned 14 starters, including 7 on a defensive unit that held Alabama to just 66 yards rushing last year. Gone are Mountain West Defensive Player of the Year Shaq Barrett and leading rusher Capri Bibbs, who scored 31 touchdowns in his senior season, the most in the nation. His replacement in the backfield may be a converted safety in Jason Oden, or perhaps McElwain has another trick up his sleeve.
We've got 3 new young kids in the program that, we think are capable, but you just never know. This could go back to our old Big Sky days where we're throwing it 80 times. I don't know. We'll find out.
Senior quarterback Garrett Grayson would probably love to throw 80 passes a game. The Rams starter finished in the top 30 of 5 passing categories in 2013 and spent the offseason sharpening his game at the Manning Academy. He says this summer has been less stressful now that he's earned the starter's job.
It makes it a little bit easier. It's definitely a lot less stressful. I go to bed every night, knowing that it's a little bit more comfortable. Even though technically it is my job right now, I know I could lose it, and it's kind of what's pushing me through this offseason.
Up in Laramie, the Wyoming football program has tilled under Dave Christensen and reaped perhaps the hottest coach in college football, Craig Bohl. The Nick Saban of the FCS led North Dakota State to 3 consecutive national championships. His 11-year record of 104-32 leaves little doubt in regards to his ability, but why leave the mighty Bison for a middle-of-the-road Mountain West team?
I knew that our chapter, the things that we wanted to and could accomplish at North Dakota State, that chapter had closed. And I also knew that Wyoming presented a great opportunity in that the style of football and the region of the country fit to our skill set, and specifically mine.
Bohl has abandoned Wyoming's old spread attack and introduced a variation of the West Coast offense that emphasizes ball control and time of possession, much like the Cowboys basketball team. Wyoming returned 16 starters, but none of them are named Brett Smith, the dynamic quarterback who left after his junior season to pursue an NFL career and then went undrafted. Smith's favorite target, Robert Herron, is also gone, but his partner in crime, wideout Dominic Ruffin, is back and looking forward to Bull's new scheme.
When you do that, when you run out the shot clock, what's going to happen a lot of times is guys on the defense, they're going to bring 8 or 9 guys in the box. So what that does for receivers is it does man-to-man coverage, one-on-one. And so if you can beat your guy one-on-one, you can beat him deep. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for deep threats.
The Cowboys defense will be led by junior end Eddie Yarbrough, who made 6.5 sacks and was voted All-League last year. He says Wyoming's new strength and conditioning program has made him even better this summer.
All of us gotten faster, stronger. I even got like a little 2-pack, 4-pack now that I could take off my shirt. Been showing that off this summer a little bit.
New Mexico head coach Bob Davie is probably going to leave his shirt on in the fall, but perhaps for the first time since taking over in 2012, he's proud to wear that Lobo logo. His rebuilding process of the Woeful program is close to complete. The NCAA imposed scholarship and practice restrictions have been lifted, and now Davie is finally able to enjoy the change in culture he's fought so hard to institute.
You know, as a head coach, you stand up in front of that meeting room. I did last night. We had a meeting, 105 kids in there. It just looks different. You know, it just looks different. We have more guys, we have bigger guys, we have better looking guys. We've got a chance to start to gain some momentum now in this program for the first time.
12 starters returned for Davie's squad, but the real difference this year is depth. Leading rusher Casey Carrier is gone, but the run game shouldn't be any less effective thanks to New Mexico's hard-to-defend triple option offense. Dual-threat quarterback Cole Gauchi will be the Lobos' biggest weapon this year and should start over Clayton Mitchell under center. UNM's defense was 119th in the country last season, so expect it to be better because it's almost impossible to be worse. Reigning Mountain West Special Teams Player of the Year Carlos Wiggins is back. He piled up over 1,300 kick return yards in 2013, the most in the country. He's definitely a threat, but Davie wants to temper expectations with a lesson from Statistics 101.
We were so bad on defense last year, right? That so many teams kicked off to us after they scored that he had the opportunity to return a lot of kickoffs. So with every stat, you got to look really close. He did lead the country, or whatever that stat was in total yards, but he returned a lot of kickoffs.
The Air Force Academy also returned its fair share of kickoffs en route to its first 10-loss season in program history. Injuries, awful defense, and inexperience are to blame, but head coach Troy Calhoun expects things to be different this year thanks to some widespread changes. He added a spring game for the first time and assigned a player-run leadership council to help boost accountability. The defense, which returned 7 starters, will be jamming more receivers and employing some 5-man fronts. The offense is still run-reliant, but skilled wide receivers Jalen Robinette and Sam Gagliano might make Calhoun call more pass plays than ever, or not.
We've got to be a little bit wise in terms of how much drop-back passing we do, and I say that from the standpoint of smaller bodies, a little bit shorter arms, which are 2 areas physically that you want pass protectors.
Despite Calhoun's slight aversion to throwing the ball, sophomore quarterback Nate Romine will be a player to watch this season. He brought stability to the offense after 3 other QBs ahead of him on the depth chart failed to do so. Romine enters the fall as the incumbent starter, and his coach is cautiously optimistic.
Anytime you played more, you understand how to lead, how to manage a game as a quarterback. Some of the plays that he had, some of the recall that's involved, can be a plus as he moves forward.
We're moving forward with the On Your Sidelines Mountain West Football Preview Special. Coming up, the other half of the conference. Hear from the best of the West next.
Our challenge to our team is we're going to compete for championships, and I think we're poised to have another run.
Don't be fooled by the rocks that he's got. He's still Timmy from the block. Fresno State coach Dim DeRuyter proudly flaunted his new championship ring at the conference media days in July, showing everyone else that the Bulldogs are still the team to beat. Fresno State finished 11-2 overall last year and defeated Utah State in the inaugural Mountain West Championship game. This year's Bulldog squad will be very different than last season's, but DeRuyter himself is a somewhat unexpected constant. Many pundits thought he'd bolt after 2013, but instead he's sticking around.
My wife and I are from California. We love where we're at. It just fits us. And I think, you look at the history of Fresno State, the last 2 head coaches were there. Pat Hill was there 15 years, had opportunities to leave, and he chose to stay. Jim Sweeney before that was 18 years, had opportunities. Fresno's different than most non-Power 5 schools.
DeRuyter may regret his decision if the Bulldogs can't find a serviceable replacement for legendary quarterback Derek Carr, who's now suiting up for the Oakland Raiders. Fresno State's best receiver, Devontae Adams, is also playing on Sundays now. The good news is that the Dogs have other offensive weapons in wideout Josh Harper and running back Josh Quezada. But seriously, how do you replace a guy like Derek Carr?
I kind of feel like Kevin Sumlin taking on Johnny Manziel questions, but you really don't. I don't expect anybody to throw for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. It'd be unrealistic. But we've got two guys that are very, very capable of leading our team and leading our team to a championship.
The Bulldogs return 8 starters on defense, perhaps the most experienced linebacking core in the conference. But no one in red and white will be more valuable than free safety Deron Smith. The future NFLer filled the stat sheet with 87 tackles, 4 sacks, and 7 interceptions last year, and he's excited to take on a leadership role now that Carr is gone.
As a defense, we definitely try to step up. We want to be the strength. We want the team to lean on us. But at the same time, we know our offense is going to put up points. We still got a ton of weapons coming back.
San Jose State spoiled Fresno's potential BCS bid in late November last season, but finished its inaugural Mountain West campaign 500 overall, failing to make a bowl in quarterback David Fales' senior season. The Spartans and Broncos won't meet until 2015. In the interim, San Jose State will hope to improve its defense, which went from 24th in the country in 2012 to 103rd last year. Senior Blake Urich and junior Joe Gray are competing to replace Fales under center. The winner of that competition will get to throw to Tyler Winston, who earned Conference Freshman of the Year honors in 2013. Winston racked up over 850 receiving yards in just 8 starts. If there's one team in the Mountain West that seems to have Boise State's number, it's San Diego State. The Aztecs have beaten the Broncos twice in a row, including an overtime thriller last year. SDSU finished the season with a school record 4th consecutive bowl game, another win in Boise, this time over Buffalo in the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. So, Rocky Long, what's your secret sauce for beating the blue and orange?
I have none. The players on our side have played well enough to keep the game close, and then we've been lucky the last couple of years of making a play near the end of the game that allowed us to win.
San Diego State's biggest playmaker this year should be quarterback Quinn Kaler, who threw for over 3,000 yards and 19 touchdowns last season. He'll lead a relatively young offense with just 3 other senior starters. The Aztecs' defense is loaded, especially in the front 6 of Rocky Long's 3-3-5. Cornerback DeMonte Casey is an emerging star in the secondary and should help stabilize what was the 2nd best overall defense in the Mountain West last season. San Diego State seems to have all the pieces to take over the top spot in the West Division, unless its wily old coach goes off and tells us all his team's weaknesses.
The weaknesses are we're not sure who all our receivers are. We have one really good receiver. We have to develop a receiver. We have brand new safeties that haven't played a down in college football. That's a concern, and someone has to be able to make a field goal.
I bet the Aztecs would love to borrow Devontae Davis from UNLV. The senior wideout is the best the Mountain West has to offer. He could have gone pro, but instead opted to bring his 6'3", 210-pound frame back to Sam Boyd Stadium for one more run with the Rebels. Davis caught a school record 14 touchdown passes in 2013, hauling in 87 balls for nearly 1,300 yards. He led UNLV to its most successful season in 13 years, but this year will be a bit of a bust no matter how you slice it. UNLV didn't meet the minimum academic progress rate score of 930, so the Rebs can't win the Mountain West Championship or appear in a bowl. UNLV doesn't play Boise State until next season. The Rebels' in-state rivals in Reno bring back more starters than any other team in the conference, 18. Leading rusher Kendall Brock is back, as is senior signal caller Cody Fajardo. Nevada's defense returns a glut of experienced playmakers, including defensive end Brock Hecking, who is probably the best pass rusher in the league. Head coach Brian Polian blames last year's 4-8 record on inexperience and expects a turnaround, especially on defense.
Collectively as a team, we played 18 freshmen, and the best thing about playing 18 freshmen is that they all become sophomores. So I think growth and development alone will make us better in defense.
Under Chris Ault, Nevada usually finished in the top 10 nationally in scoring. Last year, the Wolfpack finished 11th in their own conference. That shouldn't be the case in 2014, thanks to Fajardo, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the conference when healthy. Despite tearing his MCL in the second week of the season, Fajardo still played in 10 games last year and racked up over 3,200 total yards.
When you're a dual threat quarterback like he is, you know, you got to have your legs, and it nagged him the whole year. And quite frankly, I don't think he was ever quite himself afterwards.
I feel like that's what kind of hindered us a little bit last year, the fact that I wasn't a threat on the outside, couldn't outrun defenders as well as I would like to. But this year, knee brace is gone, 100% healthy, so I'm pretty excited to get back out there.
Finally, say aloha to the worst team in the conference, the Hawaii Warriors. Head coach Norm Chow is on the hot seat following a 1-11 campaign in which Hawaii lost 5 games by 7 points or fewer. The Warriors are facing a quarterback controversy thanks to the graduation of Sean Schroeder, but running back Joey Iosefa should lend continuity to the offense. Iosefa led the team in rushing last season despite missing 8 games with a foot injury. Boise State won't have to worry about him since the Broncos don't play the Warriors this year. Well, we're almost finished with the On Your Sidelines Mountain West football preview, but you're going to want to stick around. Coming up, a preview of next Friday's special, a half-hour look at Boise State.
I know this. It all starts with Boise and at the same time, well-deserved.
Boise's been the standard bearer in this league and in the WAC for a long, long time.
Boise's tough to play no matter where they're at.
It's a pretty ominous task. They said, how do you do it? I said, well, how do you kill an elephant one bite at a time?
Despite never winning the Mountain West Conference outright, Boise State always seems to be the preseason favorite, and this year's no exception. Coming up next Friday at 7 o'clock, I'll show you why the Broncos are getting so much love from the rest of the league. I'll take a close look at each position, breaking down the depth charts. You'll see who's impressing in fall camp and who the big surprises might be later this fall. You'll also hear from players and coaches, including one-on-one interviews with coordinators Marcel Yates and Mike Sanford. Here's a sneak peek.
Money season. Money, money, money. Don't leave money out on the field.
Getting money, money.
Offensively, you know, where this thing has gone, which is, it still has a lot of the nucleus and the DNA of what we were offensively way back when, but to also come back and understand how this program and the slogans, the motifs, everything about the program had also evolved as well.
We're trying to get it back to the old Bronco way.
You know, I think coaching is kind of changing a little bit where coaches are starting to hire guys that they trust. So I really feel like just because a guy is in the NFL or at a certain school doesn't mean he's a great coach.
Watch it, DVR it, stream it illegally. Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Just don't miss the On Your Sidelines Boise State football preview Friday, August 22nd in primetime, 7 o'clock, right here on Today's 6. For even more Mountain West football content, go to the website, IdahoOnYourSide.com. Thanks for watching. The Seattle Seahawks and San Diego Chargers are up next.